All right, let's just jump right into it. In the race to build the future of computing, and it is a high-stakes race, one company just made a move so massive it could change the entire game. We're talking about IonQ and its absolutely enormous bet on quantum supremacy.
And this is the price tag for that bet. $1.8 billion. That's what quantum computing pioneer IonQ is putting on the table to acquire a company called SkyWater Technology. But really, you gotta see this as more than just a purchase. It's the price of building an industry titan from the ground up.
And this right here is why it is such a potential game changer. What this deal does is create the very first vertically integrated quantum computing company. So this isn't about just getting bigger. No, this is about completely overhauling the business model for how you design, build, and scale quantum computers.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this power play. It was January 26, 2026, when IonQ dropped the news that it was acquiring SkyWater Technology. And believe me, it sent a shockwave through the entire quantum sector.
So the deal values SkyWater at about $1.8 billion. For shareholders, the offer is $35 a share, part of that is cash, part is IonQ stock, and that works out to a pretty hefty 38% premium over its recent average price. The whole thing is expected to be finalized sometime in the second or third quarter of 2026.
So, who exactly are these two companies at the center of this massive deal? Well, on one side, you've got a quantum revolutionary, and on the other, you have a real cornerstone of American manufacturing. Over on the left, you've got IonQ, the quantum pioneer. They're known for their trapped ion systems. Their business model is quantum computing as a service, which is basically a fancy way of saying they let other companies rent time and processing power on their incredibly advanced machines. Then on the right is SkyWater, the largest US-owned pure-play semiconductor foundry. And that trusted status, that is a huge deal. It's a top-level security clearance that makes them a critical partner for the US defense industry.
And this really shows you just how unique SkyWater's position is. Being a trusted American-owned foundry is super rare and strategically vital. It means they can produce really sensitive microelectronics for aerospace, for defense, for government programs, all without the supply chain risks you get with overseas manufacturing. This is a massive strategic asset.
So, what is the big idea here? Why would a quantum systems company even need to own a chip factory? Well, it all comes down to a really powerful business strategy called vertical integration.
To put it simply, vertical integration just means owning your own supply chain. Think about Tesla building its own gigafactories. Or even better, think about how Nvidia came to dominate AI. They didn't just design the chips, they built the entire software ecosystem, CUDA, that runs on them. They own the whole stack. And that is the exact playbook IonQ is using here.
I mean, you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. IonQ CEO Niccolo de Masi said the goal is to materially accelerate their roadmap and secure their supply chain. It's a classic 1-2 punch, speed and security.
So how does this actually help them? Well, first, innovation gets way faster. When you can design and test new chip ideas in-house, you cut an incredible amount of time off the development cycle. Second, you get total control. No more waiting in line at other foundries. And third, and this is so important, you get secure production. That trusted status we talked about makes them the obvious choice for sensitive government and defense contracts. Probably the most immediate impact of owning your entire production line is just a massive speed up of your tech timeline. IonQ has basically just slammed their foot on the accelerator for the quantum future.
Now, check this out. What's so wild about this slide is how it shows you that speed boost. Once the deal is done in 2026, IonQ thinks they can start testing huge 200,000 qubit chips by 2028. And even crazier, their path to these mind-bogglingly large 2 million qubit systems, they think they can get there a full year ahead of schedule.
Okay, let's pull back for the big picture view. This isn't just a smart purchase. It's a calculated play to become the Nvidia of the quantum world. A vertically integrated monster that completely defines its industry. But a bet this big comes with equally huge risks.
Look, the bull case is just intoxicating, right? IonQ becomes the undisputed king of a market that could be worth almost $100 billion. They'll have a rock-solid domestic supply chain and a massive strategic advantage over giants like IBM and Google. But the bear case is just as serious. The company's valuation is through the roof, trading at a price-to-sales ratio over 155, and it's burning through cash with these enormous operating losses. And on top of all that, let's be honest, quantum computing itself is still a really speculative field. It could be years away from mainstream use.
And all of that leaves us with the $1.8 billion question, doesn't it? By buying its own factory and seizing control of its own destiny, is IonQ locking in its position as the one true leader of the quantum revolution? Or is this just an incredibly expensive gamble on a future that's still just over the horizon? Only time will tell.